So I can follow my conscience, and then I'll die. But I can lie, and I can live. And people will do anything to survive. They'll survive at any price.
Well,
They'll survive
most people,
at any price.
but not you, not Solzhenitsyn.
I think most people.
Yeah, yes, most people, but not everyone.
And what's a mind bender is that good people do it. That's not a good thing.
So how are they good people?
Most people then aren't. That's a necessary conclusion, and that's a hard thing to state. But here's a good thought experiment. And I've been asked by everyone, "Who are you going to talk about the Project Veritas?" I said, "Not really, maybe in passing for one sentence." But the question is this: what is your price? Is it 10 million? Is it 20 million? Is it 100 million?
You quote in the book the famous Churchill exchange.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know who
where the
originally
woman,
came up with that.
where Churchill says to a woman, would you sleep with me for £5 million? And she says, well, we'd have to talk about terms or something. And then he says, would you sleep with me for £5? And she says, what kind of woman do you think I am? And he says, I've determined what kind of a woman you are.
Now we're just establishing the price.
Right.
So so think about it. And this is I just want to say one thing. This is a tough one. What is your price? Because if your price is not your life, then you are for sale. If your price is not your life, then you are for sale. So if you're going to be a truth teller, your price has to be your life. You know who said this was Abbie Hoffman, who, for all I know, is a communist or a left-winger, but he said it a lot of those communists were very nervy people.
But that's what's so interesting to me is that we're talking about truth, so it's not really a left or right issue.
No, it's not.
That changes over time.
I would say some of these communists have certainly more courage than the Republicans, and more courage than much more courage than most conservatives, because that's a religion to change the world. But the price, and I remember being at Veritas, and we were looking around the room thinking, how many people would take a $20 million bribe? And not that anybody did, but I remember thinking, I can't surround myself with people whose price is not their life. Because the enemy, whatever the enemy is, whether it be physical, legal, spiritual, will attack the vulnerability of the person who can be compromised. So you get real spiritual real fast if you're going to do this type of work.
Well, again, we're talking about, it's unfashionable in elite Manhattan circles to talk about things like truth, integrity, because people are like, wow, and that's kind of the point. It's why we started Socrates in the City, because it should be fashionable to talk about those things, or at least we should talk about those things, and whether it's fashionable or not is another issue. But to talk about integrity and truth and what you're willing to do or say to get along, again, this is what I'm talking about wherever I go. We know what happened in Germany. We know that people that would not publicly identify as evil or as Nazis were willing to do a little bit to stay safe, to keep out of trouble. And by doing that, they enabled satanic evil to erupt across the face of Europe. I mean, because of those people, it wasn't just the top Nazis. Those people had to be complicit. That's what you're talking about here. You're talking about people across this country willing to go along.